Is that the case, do you think, or are we in this for is this how it is now?
I think it is. We were already on our digital journey before this, well before this. No doubt it's accelerated it, significantly accelerated it, for obvious reasons. So that ain't going away. I don't think if we're still, as an industry, operating in the kind of traditional manner in 5 years' time, we'll be dead.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
We just won't be able to survive in that environment. Somebody, a better dealer, a disruptor, something will have our lunch off us. So I think we've got to change. There's a commercial imperative. Overlay the fact that we genuinely believe as Jardines that there's just a better way of doing business. That's got to change. So it's not a pandemic flash in the pan. It's not something that we'll have to put up with and then go back to normal. It was coming anyway.
Yep.
It was coming anyway. This has just moved it at pace.
Hello and welcome back to the Armchair Show, where we are joined by Neil Williamson, who is CEO of Jardines. How are you doing, Neil?
All right, yeah, good. Thank you, Mark. Looking good.
Excellent. And nice and local for you?
This is 20 minutes, so yeah, very
Perfect.
nice. Yeah,
we've had some guests come from much further afield, so it's nice to have someone who can just pop in. It's nice.
Exactly. I'll come back.
For the uninitiated amongst our listeners and viewers, can you just tell me a bit about Jardines, what you guys do?
Yeah, so Jardines, we're in the UK, 50 businesses, all in England. Our ownership is ultimately in Hong Kong, huge multinational conglomerate in Hong Kong. So we're a relatively small part of that, but lots of that is cars. So we live in a big car world.
Excellent. And what's your own journey been into the industry?
I guess I've always been a car guy.
Yep.
I did engineering at university and kind of got into the industry via Renault as a graduate trainee, what seems like a million years ago. And I think I came into it because I love cars. I was your classic teenage boy, loved cars, motor racing, fast cars, all that sort of stuff. Loved it. I think now, wind on a few years, I still like cars, but what I really love is the car business.
Yeah.
The people element of it, the challenge of it, the looking after customers. So, do I get as excited about the new Ferrari these days? Not as much. But do I really enjoy getting the best out of people? Absolutely.
And what do you think's changed in the industry over the last 10 years? I mean, putting 2020 to one side for a moment. We'll come down to that. We wish it would be nice, wouldn't it? What do you think's changed in the time that you started to now?
I think it's very different. I think the industry now, and it's accelerating and has accelerated even more in this last sort of 6 months or so. But it feels to me like an industry that's coming alive again. We're learning new skills. So we're learning how to blend a digital environment with the old-fashioned, if you like, physical environment. And I think that's what makes it feel really different. If I'm really honest, Mark, the first couple of decades was all a bit the same.
Okay.
Didn't change that much. But that rate of change now is really rapid. And the trick for us as dealers, in our part of the chain, is to marry that kind of online-offline experience. And we haven't been very good at it traditionally. The offline stuff we're all right at. Online, we're learning, so we're great collaborators. If you're only good at internet or digital, we'll talk to you.
Yeah.
And now we're getting okay at that, so we can leverage our dealerships and our people. That's our real assets. With a different experience for our customers. That's our challenge. That's how it's changing, I think.
And how do you think the industry can meet that challenge? I appreciate there's no quick answer to this, but in terms of, as you say, the traditional side of things, happy with that. That's been there for many years. But digital, although it has been around for a long time, people have had the internet for a long time. For whatever, why do you think the industry has been slow to catch up with that? What is the main thing?
I think if we're probably all guilty of being used to one way of doing it, and not really understanding the other ways of doing things. We've learnt that lesson, but way before pandemic we were on this journey. And it's about seeing what other people can do, and learning what they do, collaborating with them. We're big collaborators, all the disruptors, new kids on the block. We talk to them, work with them, learn from them. For me, that's the only way to do it. And we come up with this new model, which will look a bit different in showrooms. We probably won't have traditional salespeople or sales managers. For me, it's a online, offline experience at the customer's pace. Which we're obviously in control of that to some extent, but we also take our hands off that process, and we don't force customers into a traditional sales process, because customers who buy our cars, we sell premium and luxury cars. They're pretty smart cookies. They know what they want. They want a great experience. They want really good advice from us, and come out with a new car, a used car, or service. That's my vision. Have that really, really enjoyable experience. A meeting of equals. No one's in the driving seat, no one's dominating the discussion, and it's a really pleasant experience. And it should be, shouldn't it? When you're spending £50,000 on a car, you should enjoy that.
Absolutely, it should be enjoyable. I think some people don't enjoy that experience. I'm like you. I love cars, so I enjoy the process generally of buying a new car. But I understand that some people don't. Again, what can the industry do to welcome those sort of people in a bit more? People who perhaps they buy a new car when their old one has run out of warranty or the PCP is finished, whatever it might be, and they think, I've got to buy another car. A bit like me if I've got to buy a new vacuum cleaner. Right. What can the industry do to make those people feel a bit more warm and fuzzy?
I think it's a great question. I think historically it's been, as a customer, you had to fit into our sales process. It was all about the part exchange valuation, the test drive, the money off the new one or the used one. And we focused too much on that. Actually, a modern customer, most of the customers we see, they've pretty much made their mind up. They've done their homework. They want the A4. They're not sure about silver or black. They're not sure about the engine. They've thought about hybrid. That's the point we can really add value to that conversation. So we can say, look, here's our advice on hybrid. Here's how it works. Here's how it doesn't work. Talk about what you do with the car. Go and drive a couple. And you know what? Drive it by yourselves. We don't need to be in the passenger seat with you. So it's that advisory, consultative approach which breaks down all this and this silly process where, you try and do a deal and the salesman has to go and get it underwritten by our sales manager. That maybe worked 10 years ago. It doesn't work now. We need to come away from that and just make it a meeting of equals, a good experience.
Yep.
And that does require a bit of different thinking and a bit of hands-off. Some people are quite nervous of that. Yeah. But I think if I wind forward, that's where I'd want to be, all our experiences of that kind of flavour, really.
Yeah. With that, thinking about going forward, what do you think the dealership in the next 10 years will look like in 2030?
That's a brilliant question. I think it's up to us as an industry, not just Jardines, up to us as an industry to make sure we keep the value in our premises and our people.
Yep.
Because I think it works hand in hand. If you're buying a really expensive handbag on Bond Street, that's part of the experience. Going to the shop, enjoying the brand experience, that's really important. You can buy a handbag on the market for 10 quid, you'll spend £1,000 on Bond Street.
Yep.
Look at that in our industry, where our multiples are bigger in terms of average transaction values, but we should be able to add that kind of value in a showroom experience. Why would we not be good at that? So I think the showroom becomes a different use, but the kind of brands we're selling, premium brands, we need to add that experience on top of that. And when everything goes electric, which it will, in my lifetime everything's going to be electric, it's not about the engine capacity or the noise anymore. It does become a bit more commoditized.
Yeah.
But we will still have those premium brands to sell. So I think that's a really important bit for us to get involved in. And we have great people. They understand cars, they understand customers, they can fix them.
Yep.
If they're technicians, they can fix them. They can order the right car for the customer. Those skills, the new entrants can learn that, but we've got that in spades. Those assets of premises and people, they'll look different. There might be slightly different job roles, might be slightly different use of the showroom.
Yep.
But I think we need to maximise that. Those are our assets that we need to fit into this new way of working.
Yeah. What's it like working in the industry at the moment?
I think the way our industry looks now, it looks very different. In the short term, we've got one-ways, sanitisers, screens everywhere. So the businesses look quite ugly. They look quite functional, but the same word, they are functioning. Yeah. So when you come to buy a new car or a used car, get your car serviced, we do it in a very COVID-compliant way. And actually, it's a very straightforward experience. A bit like I'm describing. It's very, collaborative. We know you're coming. You know you're coming. You turn up on time. We've got all the data. So have you. So actually, as a customer experience, it's really quite short, but very effective, very professional. So that's really, really quite good.
I think what's very interesting about yourself, if you don't mind me saying, is that you do a lot of work travelling to schools, don't you? Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Yeah, I think I've got a passion for getting young people into our business, particularly young females.
Yep.
Yeah, my wife, I met my wife in the industry, and she's not a believer. She thinks that if she had daughters, she wouldn't advise them to go into our industry.
Okay.
So that's kind of where my challenge comes from. It's a very personal challenge to change that.
And do you mind me asking why she feels that way?
She feels that way because she was in the industry for many years, and she did come across some real stereotypes. Not quite #MeToo, but a bit close.
Yep.
Perhaps closer than we realised at the time, if I'm really honest. Looking back on it, you kind of go, seemed all right then. Now, with new eyes, it really wasn't all right.
Yep.
And she made her way through, and she's a big, tough girl. She got on with it. But that's why she's saying it's, I wouldn't advise daughters to go into it. And I take that as a challenge to fix that, because, we've got, what we need is diversity, new ideas, differences. It turns out most of our customers, half of them are girls. Imagine that. Why don't we realise that and change that? So that's why I go into schools, and all the research that you see says you have to talk to any gender, but particularly young girls, when they're sort of 11, 12-ish.
Yep.
Because after that, they've got a fixed view of our industry, or maybe not even thought of it, never will. So before that, you've got a chance. So I go into some pretty tough schools, pretty lively schools.
Yep.
And if you're talking to 100 kids, it's always a great experience.
Yeah.
They ask you amazing questions. They've got no filters, so you need to be on your toes. And always take someone younger with you who can answer some of the questions you just don't understand.
Yeah, and explain some of the wording.
Correct, exactly what they're talking about. Hand over to my 25-year-old colleague. But they ask you tons of questions, and if you can relate to, or if they can relate to you, 2 or 3 at the end come up to you and say, what you said about being a technician or your marketing department, how does that work? That's been a success. And it's a tough old day. It's not a day, it's half a day. But you're really on your toes. You don't know what's coming. All these kids, they're never quiet. There's always a hubbub going on. The teachers are trying really hard. You're out of your comfort zone massively, but you walk out of that, a bit drained, and you think, maybe I've done a bit of good today. Maybe not. Who knows? But I really enjoy doing it.
We've sown a seed, haven't you, I suppose? And like you say, again, a lot of the guests we have on the show, they pretty much all of them actually, they've fallen into the industry as a happy accident. It's not, they perhaps weren't aiming for it. 1 or 2 have been, but most that we talked to, they were doing something else. They might have been in accountancy beforehand or something else. And I guess for these girls and for lads as well, they may not be immediately thinking at that age, 11 to 12, about the automotive industry. But if you sow a seed at that stage,
correct,
even if it's 10, 15, 20 years down the line, it might spark something.
It's about showing them the breadth of the industry. I'm the car dealer bloke, aren't I? So I'm in a very sort of small section of our distribution chain. But they get me talking about who designs cars then? Can we do that?
Right, okay.
Well, of course you can. Yeah, you can be designing interiors, exteriors. Those racing cars, how do they work then? Well, yeah, that's part of our industry, Actually, where I live, there's loads of it around Northampton, That's a real opportunity for these kids. So it's not just being, in car sales or a technician. Interesting as those careers are, there's such a broad spectrum of things that people could do.
Yeah, and when you speak to these kids, do you find that they, not kids are they, but do you find that they are aware of the industry, or are they? What's their opinion of it? What's the first thing you tend to hear from them? If
they're aware of it, it's because they're car lovers. Right. So you get, girls and boys love cars.
Yep.
Either racing cars or fast cars. So that's definitely going on. That's the same as when I was a kid. These kids love cars. Yep. And they particularly love battery cars. They're not V12. They know what Tesla is. They understand Tesla. They understand that everybody's copying Tesla. There's
no Lamborghinis on the wall.
There's a bit of that, of course there is. But what has surprised me is, oh, mister, do you drive a battery car? Brilliant. Right, okay. That's credible. Yeah, more so than a petrol or diesel car. So there's certainly that still going on. And I just think the impression I get from the questions I get and the conversations I have is they just haven't considered it. It's just not on their radar. It's not that they've thought about it and go, oh, not for me. It just hasn't been on the radar. For whatever reason, it hasn't been on the radar. So it's our job, my job, the industry's job to just let them consider it, and that those small 1% who might say, I'll have a look at it, then you've had a good day, I think.
And apart from the work you're doing at the schools, what are you doing at Jardines to encourage younger people to come in, and particularly women to come in?
Yeah, so we're proactive on this, controversially, we are proactive on it. We really support our female colleagues across the business, female managers. We have individual meetings of our female managers, and beyond that, other diversity as well. And we really, really believe it. We really do. Why do we believe it? I'm a little bit evangelical. My story about my wife, that's driven me to fix that. But the other side of the coin is, if you have a diverse team of all flavours, you'll make better decisions. You'll be a better business. I 100% buy that. And that's really important. And we're seeing that even more exaggerated in tough times like we're in at the moment, where, countries arguably are making bad decisions because it's a bunch of similar people in a room making a decision.
Yep.
Countries who've got a more diverse input, dare I say it, female leaders, we'll see in time, are making better decisions.
Yeah.
If you ever wanted an example, of really in adversity, when you need different views in the room, now's the time. And that works, in a sales environment, an after-sales environment, in our small world, as much as it does, running a country. So 100% behind that.
Yeah, and you guys have got form with this, because we should mention that one of your colleagues, Claire Martin, she's won an award, hasn't she, recently?
Yeah, Claire Martin. Now Claire Wright got married just
Claire
the other
Wright,
weekend, so
yep.
changed their branding.
Congratulations.
And Claire's equally evangelical as me on this,
Yep.
supporting our own people, our own females in particular, but also outside the industry. She speaks everywhere. She's very well connected. She's all over social media. Just breaking that down, as to what you can do in our industry as any young person, but particularly with focus on females.
Yeah, it's inspiring, isn't it? And hopefully it'll inspire the kids.
I think she is. I think she is. And others think so too.
Yep.
But hence the award. So it's great to have someone like Claire on our side.
Yeah, well, congratulations to Claire on that front. Thinking more widely, what are you guys planning for the rest of this year? Anything in particular in the immediate future?
So this year, it's a bit about getting through it, to be honest. Post-pandemic, still in pandemic, post-lockdown, certainly, post-lockdown. Business is good at the moment. I'm sure other people have told you that. So, we're hoping that will continue, getting through to this end of this year. But I guess our strategic initiatives this year are taking our business digital. And we've done that in our Jaguar Land Rover division already. So they're right in the middle of that, overlaying a digital line with the other more traditional lines. So we're right in the middle of that very aggressively. And in our workshops at the moment, we're working a shift system to allow the social distancing. But in time, we'd like, when it's possible, to remove social distancing or manage that differently, should I say, when it's all possible, of course, and actually have a bigger availability of our workshops so we can get more out of our existing assets. That's critical to us. Yeah. So those are the two strategic goals, really. Going digital, which we already are in sales, and just increasing our opportunity in after sales.
Yeah. And do you think that the things that have changed this year are a flash in the pan? Is it something, I mean, you mentioned there about digital and the changes there. There's been, I always forget what the figure is, but we've seen a huge amount of change digitally in a very short amount of time, and it's forced a lot of businesses in this industry in particular to digitally transform. That favourite term people keep using, but they've had to do it very quickly. I wonder if some people perhaps watching this may think it's a short-term thing. At some stage they can forget about Zoom and Teams, etc. Is that the case, do you think, or are we in this for the? Is this how it is now? I
think it is. We were already on our digital journey before this, well before this. No doubt it's accelerated it, significantly accelerated it, for obvious reasons. So that ain't going away. I don't think, if we're still, as an industry, operating in the kind of traditional manner in 5 years' time, we'll be dead.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
We just won't be able to survive in that environment. Somebody, a better dealer, a disruptor, something will have our lunch off us. So I think we've got to change. There's a commercial imperative. Overlay the fact that we genuinely believe as Jardines that there's just a better way of doing business. That's got to change. So it's not a pandemic flash in the pan. It's not something that we'll have to put up with and then go back to normal. It was coming anyway. Yep. It was coming anyway. This has just moved it at pace.
It's accelerated it, hasn't it? No, absolutely. And finally, Neil, how have you found the experience today on the show?
Yeah, it's great. My first time. It's handy for me, just down the road.
Always welcome.
Thank you. It's really good. Met some interesting people today, some of which I know, some of which I haven't met before. And I like the way you have it. You talk about positive stuff, new stuff, looking forward. Because in our industry, we're ever so good at focusing on negatives at all levels. Sometimes I find myself doing it. I have to hit myself around the head. So focusing on positives and looking forward is we need more of that in our world.
Excellent, thanks, Neil. And thanks very much for being on the show. We could carry on talking for a long time, but we thankfully, because you're so local, we'll definitely have you on again. Brilliant. And we'll be in the other studio at some stage as well, hopefully.
Cool, my pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you very much for watching. If you could hit subscribe, it means you'll never miss an episode. And we will see you next time. Thank you.